And then something that I've also, actually, now that I think about it, encountered more lately is folks being like, you know what they should have done? And like, it's not something that we're like directly involved with, and they're just kind of complaining just because they want to complain.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, you should tell that to the
them.
people.
Yeah.
Like, for example, one of the churches I work at, they're changing the service times.
You know what Jesus should have done?
And then,
What's up, Pondies?
Welcome to another episode of the Pandesoul podcast.
where we explore the flavors of being Filipino and American.
We're your hosts. I'm the Dre Magics.
I'm the fictitious professor.
And I'm EJ Villiaman, and we hope you're hungry.
Because there's plenty to go around. What's up, Pondies? Welcome back to another episode of the Pandesoul podcast, the funniest podcast on the internet. We're your hosts. I'm the Dre Magics.
I'm a fictitious professor.
And I'm EJ Villiaman.
We are here with our special guest, Marking. Give it up for Marking, everybody. Host of the Artistry and Life podcast, also life coach and
Empowerment Impact Coach.
Oh,
Empowerment
EIPs.
Impact Coach.
Was that kilopascals?
The what?
The measurement for power and impact. Sorry, science joke.
He went to Home Depot.
You know, he's a
Oh,
fizzler.
yeah.
You blinded
Physics.
me with science.
He's a professor.
I think that was a physics joke.
Oh.
Leave in the comments if I was right or wrong.
Physics
You
sure,
understand.
professor.
One more?
Don't hurt yourself.
Physics sure. What is it?
Don't hurt yourself, kid.
Whatever.
You need to fix your vocabulary first. And today's topic, we're talking about, like, when you're in the arts world, or even anything else, but primarily Filipino, culturally, you get people that want to give you advice when you don't necessarily ask for it. Today's episode is on
Unsolicited advice.
Do you have any stories like that come to mind right away about unsolicited advice or peeves or anything like that?
I don't know if I have any stories about unsolicited advice, but I feel like I definitely fall in the category of sometimes, and maybe more frequently than other times, am just giving unsolicited advice.
Giver.
You are the giver.
Is that why you got me on here?
No,
Dang.
we're gonna talk about your real problem in the next episode.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Internet porn. No,
This is an intervention.
yeah.
He said that was a problem.
No, but like there are certain relationships you have that advice is like default solicited, right? We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Where,
Like the inner circle, like the people you trust, the folks who have your back, where, if you do something that they're like, yo, you need to do that better, or, they'll call you out on something, then it's like, okay, it's from a place of constructive criticism.
Right.
As opposed to like the unsolicited advice is usually somebody who's trying to get on your good side. So they see like, for me as a musician, it's like, oh, you should try doing this or try incorporating this into your music. When it's like,
Yeah.
I don't even know you like that.
Yeah.
Or like, who are you to like give me constructive criticism?
Or what kind of irritates me? Doesn't kind of, but it does irritate me when they give unsolicited advice, but they have no context of what it is that they're talking about.
I know so many people like
Right,
that.
right, yeah.
Sample.
Like when someone tries to give me advice on magic,
Right.
and I'm like,
Right.
first of all, magic is such a niche like thing.
Yes.
Dude, you should saw Woman in Half,
Dude,
on your stage.
yeah,
so-
and I'm like, oh, how long have you been doing magic? Because longer.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so weird after a show where they're like, hey, it'd be good if like the punchline came after this thing, or
Right.
you moved
Right.
to a thing, and I'm like, dude, you don't know what I'm trying to do.
You don't even know what has gone, like the work that has gone into it,
Yeah.
and then all of this. It's like when you're editing, when you edited something and it's in lock, right? And then somebody's saying, "Oh, you know what would be better?" Right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, "Oh, you should put this over here and then cut that over there, and then don't worry about the sound. Just use that." I'm like, "What, bro? Do you know what the fuck you're talking about?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all, you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Like, if you're so good at magic, why don't you go have a successful magic career?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Real quick. Oh, dude. You know how, like, the Epstein shit is, like, slowly releasing and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
One of the first names I saw, David Copperfield.
I know. I
Dude,
saw that.
it's like,
Yeah, how does that affect you?
I'm like, dog, maybe he just went and like didn't fuck nobody.
Maybe it was a slight of something.
Maybe it was a gig.
It was a
Like he did walk around.
Private gig, yeah.
Damn, he just copped the feel.
Yeah,
That's it.
Got the-
Oh, there
Did
you
the
are.
stage show.
There it is.
man,
Had to.
I hope his special still happens in February.
Oh, is he having a special in
He's
February?
gonna make the moon disappear.
What?
It's like the whole fucking thing.
Dude, that's happening on Lunar New Year?
I hope so. But like, it's the first time he did a special since the '90s.
He should have just made his name disappear out of that whole thing.
Yeah, dude.
Ooh,
If you
there
were
it is.
you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
David
You
Copperfield,
know what you need to do, David?
we know you're listening to us.
Yeah.
We know you're one of our 20 subscribers.
It's called Whiteout.
Yeah. Anyway, unsolicited advice, right? Do you have any experiences with that? Like coming from a cultural thing, like a tita, or like
No, but I have it at work actually a lot.
you work with your titas?
No. I work with a tia.
Wow.
I think she's a tia.
What's her name?
I blanked it out.
Oh, I know her.
yeah. But yeah, it's like just people trying to kind of like what you said about people doing or giving you advice on how to do their job or your job. It's just like, dude, you don't know. Like, I know you've done it over there, but it's kind of different here, and like how I operate is a little different. And then it's like,
What do you mean by there? Like,
oh, like a different location or a different company or a different.
okay. Like how you do it in your country?
Ding.
This is not a cultural.
Yeah.
This is American. No.
We're gonna clip that and put it on the end of other shit. This is America.
This is American.
It's America.
Yeah.
Orange County, California.
Guns. Sponsor us.
Ammo Bros. No. But yeah, I mean, it's just same old shit for real.
Do you ever get unsolicited advice about your beards?
Oh my gosh, my parents.
Yeah. right?
Okay, I see. Yeah, my aunt, parents are like, oh yeah, you'd probably look more pokey if you
How does it
shaved
sound?
it.
Yeah.
How does it sound for real though?
I get that comment too. I used to. Now my family just stopped caring.
Yeah,
10 years.
no,
They're used to it.
no,
Yeah.
they didn't stop caring. They just didn't want to keep saying it anymore.
Right.
It's
Or-
always
but-
you'll be so handsome.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
What if you
You're
brought
so
it up?
good. You can't see your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
much more handsome without the.
Right.
You'll be so
Alright.
much more bulky.
Yeah. Oh, if you just cut your hair shorter again, you look really pokey. You look like a superstar in the Philippines.
Yeah. That's always the comparison.
You're
Yeah.
artista.
You have Spanish. I'm like, not that again.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to look like a terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! How many times did they ask me if I look like
Yeah. That's
that
what
one person?
Yeah.
I talked about my Tito Lito, right? Dude. My high school best friend's dad. First time he saw me in 10 years.
Right.
He's like, oh, is that Paul Kears? How come he looks like Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
like to my face. I'm like, oh,
Straight
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Good to see you too, Tito.
Yeah.
But it's always the worst comparisons. Like there's no hey, you'd look a little bit
Yeah.
cleaner. It's always the you look like a beggar.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
why?
It's not like, oh, grow it longer. You'll look like Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Like someone.
Yeah.
someone
Or you look wiser.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You look
Dude,
like
you should
the
next
wizard.
time when they go to church, you go, you see that beard
Yeah.
of the Lord?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about him, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks
Wow,
great.
would he look more handsome?
All the apostles, 12 of them, 12
Yeah.
beards.
12 beards.
Yeah. Unsolicited advice. I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing. But I think in Filipino culture, it's not just unsolicited advice. It's unsolicited advice with a little bit of guilt, just kind of sprinkled in there.
Oh, dude,
you know what I mean?
everything,
Yeah.
everything said to us is laced with guilt.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah.
That's true. All
That's
right. That's
it's-
normal.
guilt
what you're
is
saying.
the replace of bitchin.
Like bitchin?
Bitchin.
What's bitchin?
Bitchin. Isn't that the MSG?
Magic syrup.
Magic syrup.
Is
yeah.
that bitchin?
Yeah,
So you meant it as bitchin, not bitchin.
both.
Wow, jeez,
Whoa.
what a double on.
Stop.
It's like one and a half
bitching at me.
one and a half entendre.
Well, yeah,
I think that one went over my head.
that's an
It's
entendre.
like, because Filipinos put MSG in a bunch of shit. That's the how do you say it?
What's another
Equivalent?
example of that?
Bitchin.
Is that it?
Bitchin?
Bitchin'?
That's what it's called.
What?
Bitch out.
MSG.
MSG?
Yeah.
Why is that bitchin'?
No, that's the name.
Is bitchin'?
What is it?
Bitchin.
Betchin.
Our
yeah.
producer said
Oh,
bitchin'.
bitchin'!
Same.
So
Excuse me. I'm Phil.
I'm Phil.
I'm Phil.
I
Wow.
feel.
I'm feeling okay.
I'm American Filipino.
Wow. I'm Dash Am.
That's
Dashfield.
Dash cam?
Copperfield.
yeah. No, but I think the like guilt is the seasoning of Phil Am life.
Yeah.
Right.
For real.
Do you think they know it? Do you think they know that they're giving guilt? Because I know
think
when
so.
I'm giving guilt
I think so.
as a troll, or as like a
Like a sarcasm.
joke.
Like a sarcasm.
like a sarcasm.
Yeah.
But like, do you think they like?
I don't think so.
I think so.
Really?
As like a scare tactic. They're like, oh, we don't know how to explain why this is scary or dangerous, so we're just gonna guilt them as like as a way to fear somebody into
Like
doing
the
something.
more severe the situation, the heavier the guilt,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Because
like-
it's what you're saying is that it is like kind of like normalized
Yeah.
guilt in our communication in the Filipino community,
Yeah. It
Yeah.
just comes.
in the Filipino household, right?
Yeah, like using the beard Osama like extreme, right? Where it's like they're used to conforming to a certain look and image, so then using an extreme as a way of guilting us specifically to like shave. Otherwise, we're gonna look
Yeah.
like somebody who's like anti-American
Right.
in that sense.
Yeah, they've been through the martial law, so maybe like that kind of like is in their head of like, yeah, I have to cut my hair or else like.
I think on the other hand, to play like the advocate of
Satan's
Satan.
Oh,
friend.
Satan's.
Yeah.
Satan's kaibigan.
Yeah. The advocate of Satan. I think it's just muscle memory or like the pattern of speech that they've grown up with.
Right.
So
right.
it's like, oh, you don't finish your rice, that's 2 days in hell. Like that's
Yeah, one
Yeah.
day in purgatory.
right. Like it's already programmed in
Right,
in
right.
our dialogue. Yeah. I mean, and that goes back deep, right?
for sure. I think either way, it's our. I don't know if you want to change it in your life, then it is your responsibility to change it.
Right.
Oh yeah. No.
But some people are still in the pattern and don't recognize
Right.
it, right?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
And I'm not trying to give you unsolicited advice or anything. So, see how I
yeah. there you
circle?
go. Yeah. Full circle.
Would you have it any other way though?
It's one of those things where it's hard to imagine it any other way
Right.
because it's already happened.
Having the guilt.
Yeah.
Having guilt be a
Because
driving force in my life.
it makes you a certain type of person. It not grooms you, but I've become a
It
certain
like
person.
trains you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely informs a personality for sure. But I feel like, to your point though, if you're conscious about how guilt plays into the language and how it can affect dynamics, can affect people personally, if you're able to address that there is guilt present in your language and break that generational pattern.
Right. I think it is our job to stop it
Yeah.
and move forward with a healthier communication vehicle.
Right.
Right.
But I think it's hard for me to say would I have it differently in the past because that's the only way I've known.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I'm
There
like,
was no
this-
self-awareness around
right.
it, right?
And also like it already happened, so why go back and kind of wish on something different?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
Because there's nothing I can do about
There's
it at
nothing
this
you
point.
can do. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just my responsibility to like, oh, all the shit I'm aware about, don't pass it on to kids because that's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Or even when you're receiving that guilt, like you already know, like you can create that boundary. It's like, oh, I see what's happening there. You're sprinkling a little bit of that guilt in this conversation.
Yeah. I feel like I've used guilt in a way where like I've learned how to justify things.
Sample.
Like I'll make so my parents, let's say my parents they want something a certain way, and I am just like, I don't want it that way, but I guess I'll justify it making it that way to kind of like fulfill my means, but also kind of their means.
Give us a more specific sample.
I can't think about one right now.
Okay, we'll come
circle
back. We'll
back,
come back.
yeah.
Come back.
But it happens a lot.
Yeah.
But that also sounds like people pleasing.
But then you've like compromised
But-
in a way where
But that's the result of guilt.
That's
Yeah.
a result of the guilt.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I inadvertently please myself at the same time.
Never say that by itself.
I just died.
like you find a compromise between what your parents want and then your boundary,
Yeah.
so that you're not compromising yourself to a fault.
Yeah, and I come up with a reason to make that okay. But not just with parents, but like with like coworkers, with just anything, anyone, relationships.
I mean, there's compromise, right? There's
Yeah.
compromise in that dynamic. I guess what you get to be more aware of is like if it's at your expense or if it's anybody's expense. That's like really one of the main a guidepost you could use as unsolicited advice.
Wow.
This is free. This is free, guys.
Take advantage.
Right.
Like that. Good one.
Who are the, I'm not trying to call people out. What kind of unsolicited advice do you get specifically, Faye?
Honestly, it's been a while since I've gotten any unsolicited advice where I'm like, what?
Because you just don't put yourself in the space
Yeah.
where it's acceptable.
Yeah. I think like the last. I'm trying to think. It's like nothing's been where I'm like, what the fuck? Who the hell are you to give me this advice? It's always been kind of like smaller, well-meaning comments, like, oh, you should try this or try that. I'm like, okay.
From people who have a resume of
Yeah, or like
like-
other like artists within the community.
More of an offering as
Yeah.
opposed to like,
Offering's a good word.
yeah.
How about you? Do you have any?
oh yeah, offering.
I mean, same thing. Nothing that where it's just like scratch my head and like, who the fuck are you? You know,
Man, you guys are lucky.
not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Where I just was a head scratcher. I can't think of anything.
Oh, I'm thinking about it. I had a tito who kept wanting me to be on Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Recently?
No, I wish recently.
I'm fucking 30.
Yeah. You're
When
the
I was
producer.
a kid, he's like, yeah, you should be on Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom never followed through.
I get
But here I am, saying the darndest things.
wow.
Darn that.
That's our pod.
Yeah.
The darndest things.
Dang. I think because of what I do is so novelty, and it's like less common, I always get the like, and some of it I'm getting better at realizing when it's a connection point and when it's like, I know, because it's secret based.
Yeah.
So it's like they want to be part of the secret, right? But a lot of times I'll get do you know who this is? From America's Got Talent? She's a magician. And she's also Filipino. Like I'm like, oh yeah, she's at my house. Like what? Like, what do you want me to?
Right.
Like I don't know her personally, or and I get it. They're looking for the connection.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'll get the like, oh, you should do this for your career. And I'm like, well, if it was that easy, don't you think I would have done it? You think I'm just like being
Right,
lazy out
right,
here?
right.
You motherfucking
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Like, you should get on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Or no, I got, oh, you should win America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, because it's easy to win.
Yeah.
Like, get
Right.
on and then win?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Piece of cake.
Yeah. Because they're like, don't you want to do a show? And then they'll do the like, they'll try and tempt me with the prizes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know what the
Yeah.
prizes are, motherfucker. Like, don't you want to win $1 million?
Yeah. The easy part is getting on the show, and after that,
And doing
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
Right.
having millions of people vote
Yeah.
for you or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
You'll have at least 3 votes.
Wow.
4.
Raf's not going to vote for me.
It's gonna vote for the
I
singer.
do remember one time. So I have a background in theater, but there was a time where I wasn't going up on stage for a while, and so when I did get back on stage, I was getting my legs back underneath me, and someone came up to me and said, "Hey, you know what would work? Is if you did this and you did that and you did this." And I'm like, that was one of those times, like, bro, motherfucker,
Yeah.
I'm an former artistic director, co-founder of a
built
theater.
this
I
Yeah, yeah.
fucking built some fucking shit in my life. Who the fuck are you, young buck?
Yeah.
Right.
But then,
It's always someone younger than you.
yeah,
Right.
I'm like, what?
Oh my god.
And I could tell like that this person's like his ego was a little flexed, and then mine got flexed. But then it caused me to pause and to take a look at that. It's like, okay, where is my ego showing up in this when that unsolicited advice comes? Because unsolicited advice can be sometimes not wanted, but it doesn't mean the information's bad either.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's an opportunity to check yourself and be like, man, I'm really not feeling the vibe of how this person's coming at me right now, but let me take a listen real
Yeah.
quick. Nah, you're still an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you good at that? Are you guys good at that? Like discerning the information versus the method of transportation. I don't know.
No, that was a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I think it's always like a learning thing and it grows every time, but like I feel like I notice it more and I'll get better at it for sure. I mean, I am like a listener anyways, so like I always try to hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes like you just kind of get like a little red and a little like heated because like you're just like, oh, I don't want to hear this again, or I've already thought about this, or why are you telling me how to do this?
Yeah, sometimes it's timing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time I was talking to my dad about like business stuff, and then I had like a like business partner, and he said something where I was taken aback. I was like, what the heck? That's sounds weird or interesting, or like I wasn't expecting it. And instead of like taking it personally, I was like, oh, there's probably some intention behind it. Some,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
So then I was like, what do you mean by that? And then basically explained like his own experience within business of like having somebody that he like co-owned an office with who ended up being like a total asshole and not paying. And
Right.
just, like,
Yeah.
having to like basically my dad learned from experience of just having your own business,
Yeah.
your own space, and being responsible for all your stuff, as
Yeah.
opposed to relying on like business partners. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so that's why he had that energy within that response
Yeah.
because of his own personal experience of, being burned by
Right,
other
right.
other folks.
He just wanted to share some
Right.
information that he thought
Yeah.
would be very helpful.
Right. Without, just kind of like making it a loaded response. So then I was like, okay, it's my maturity to ask, what do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Right.
Yeah.
Really asking like, what do you mean by that is a big.
That's huge.
That's a big like
It's a huge
step.
question. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like, because a lot of people would be like already offended when
why?
it's told to them.
Yeah.
Well, because then that just pumps the brake and allows everybody to check the ego real quick and
Yeah.
be like, well, okay, well, what do you mean then
Yeah.
by that? Here's a question for you guys. How do you, when someone is giving you unsolicited advice and they just keep going, how do you handle that situation? If they just keep going with the unsolicited advice,
I'm rude.
are you?
I'm very rude.
Yeah.
Because like when we were talking about discerning the information between the source, I'd say I'm like really good at that from the beginning. Because I started what I do so late in life that my approach was always everything has value, even
Right.
if it's what not to do.
Right.
So I hear everyone out automatically. And I like quick analyze it to the point of like, is this useful to me? Is this person valid? Because like, even if you're not a performer, because you're an audience member, it's still valid. Because there's something that happened that made you feel like you had to tell me this thing.
Right.
Right? And so uncovering the source of what made you want to come tell me this, if it's an ego thing, if it's a connection thing, or if it's actual advice, which it usually never is.
Right.
But yeah, being able to discern those two things separately,
Yeah.
I've always been pretty good at that. So by the time it's too much, I'll be rude but charming. Right? I'll go, oh, how long have you been doing magic? Right? Or like, oh, I've been doing martial arts all my life. How about you? Right? and they're like, "Oh, I don't." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
And then they kind of get it.
Is that
Yeah.
is that okay? Like, okay.
No, I'll go. It's not. It's not.
Well, it's like, oh,
okay,
okay.
but I'll do the more feel like, okay, and it'd be like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll go cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
then
think that's a great tactic. It's not trying to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
But it's also it's communicating. Yeah. There's a little bit more context that gets to be involved in that.
right.
Yeah.
Or even being rude, I'll question it even more. I was like, "Oh, how long you been doing magic?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't." And I'm like, "Okay, so did you not think I already thought about that?
That's
You know what I
doubling
mean?
down on.
Your advice?
Yeah.
Don't you think I already thought about that?
Right. Right.
Or like, maybe this whole show was for a camera and not the audience,
Yeah.
right? A lot of the times, I do get advice. It's from an event production side,
Right.
where they're like, "Oh, you needed more lights or better," and I'm like, "Cool. Do you know our budget?"
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like,
Yeah.
"Kalas."
Right.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you guys?
I think when I hear it, I still listen it out. It really depends on how long it goes. But if it's something that someone has, like, it's a solution that they're coming up with, but it's something that I've already thought about, I will actually say, "Oh yeah, we've already thought about that," or "We've already done this. This is what we've already looked at," and all that stuff. And they're like, "Okay, okay, cool." Because mainly it's not really like I want to step on your toes. It's just like they want to exasperate all the options when I already had all the options in my head. Or
You're so cordial and nice.
It's corporate.
Yeah, you're very corporate. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you because, like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm such a grumpy old fart that I'm like,
yeah.
go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But I'll go to my office and be like, "Oh, go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
But I'll say that like when I'm texting on
I
Microsoft
agree.
Teams and then delete it. But yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, I'm trying to think because it's like, it's been a while since I've received any. But I also remember I used to, like when I first started music in college, we had to do master classes where like we'd have to give constructive criticism to like our fellow like pianists, and so training my brain to figure out some of that constructive criticism. So then it was a while where I was just kind of like giving or at least formulating potential unsolicited advice, and then realizing that not everyone is open and receptive to hearing certain things. So then even just kind of waiting for folks to be like, "Oh, what did you think about this? What do you think about that?" And then be like, "Oh," or if somebody asked me for a critique or criticism, say like for music or a song, I'm like, "Okay, what do you want constructive criticism on?"
Yeah.
If it's like the arrangement or the mixing or the production or anything like that. Because if it's like, "Oh, anything," I'm like, "Are you sure anything?" Because I will give my honest opinion
Right,
Yeah,
about
yeah,
whatever.
Right.
And if it's something that they're not ready to hear about, like, "Oh, actually, these instruments are bad," or like, "We should re-record this," or like whatever, then if they're like too far in the process, like, they might have to redo the whole thing.
Right. Right.
So just trying to be more smart and strategic about like how I give constructive criticism.
And a lot of people will like bait it, right? Where they'll be like,
"Oh, what'd you think?" Or
not
just, like,
even
very vague.
not even that overt. They'll be like, "Oh, great job tonight." You know what I'm talking
Right.
about?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas like, "Oh, you're expecting me to say something
Yeah.
back," and that's kind of like, it's not unsolicited advice. I think they're trying to bait you into. I mean, it's something else. They're trying to bait you into
Yeah.
compliment.
validation.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes you don't. I like. Sometimes I purposely avoid seeing
those people?
that. Well, just like anybody who has performed, and I kind of feel a certain way about it, and sometimes I try to avoid the conversation. Like, I'll just say, "Oh, hey, that was a great job."
Yeah.
And then if they're looking for that, it's like, I don't know if you want that advice. I'd be more than happy to give some constructive criticism outside of where you're at. But right now is about you getting your flowers right now, so enjoy that. Because sometimes because especially when I watch plays, I'll have like my director's hat on, and I'll see certain things, and I'll be like, could have been a better choice or a better direction or something like that. Or an actor comes up and says, "Oh, did you like it? Did you like it?" It's like, yeah, but your director just fucking left you guys out to dry. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
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 which is the other thing too. I don't mean to cut you off,
No
but one of the things that I just even through this conversation is just reminding me to stay in practice about when I do offer advice. Like a really good practice is to ask permission. Say, hey, bro, is it cool if you hear some perspective? Are you open to that? Like I feel that's a great way to, at least in practicing and giving advice.
That's consent.
It's consent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a great practice.
Yeah.
That when you were talking about your experience, that's what came up for me.
Yeah, that's a good way of being like, oh, can I give some constructive criticism, or like,
Are you open
because
to
even if, like, say somebody asked me that and I wasn't like open to it, but I think if they politely ask like that, I'm like more open to hearing it in a way,
Yeah,
as opposed to just like, you know what you should do.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then something that I've also actually, now that I think about it, encountered more lately is folks being like, you know what they should have done, and like, it's not something that we're like directly involved with, and they're just kind of complaining just because they want to complain.
Yeah.
Or I'm like,
No.
you should tell that to the
them.
people.
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
example, one of the churches I work at, they're changing the service times,
You know what Jesus should have done?
and then one of the like guitar players, he always like complains about something.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what they should have done? I'm like, pastor's right there. You can go talk to him.
Right.
Because he always complains about something. Just like, I don't want to hear it. Like, dude,
Yeah.
pastor's right there. You can talk to him.
Yeah.
You could have like said all these things. Could like done something about it.
Yeah.
Because my thing is like, energy spent complaining could be spent asking better questions or like doing actions.
right,
So I'm just
Yep.
like,
right.
dude, you could do something about
Yeah.
it or stop complaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the line, right? Where it's either take action or like don't say shit.
Yeah,
Because you can be perfectly fine with how it is and just
Yeah.
like not say anything,
Yeah.
especially if it's not your responsibility.
yeah. I mean, if it bothers you that much, then
Right.
say something.
Right.
Otherwise, if you don't say anything and shit still happens, you got nothing to complain about. But I don't know if that's kind of going on another.
I mean, like,
You know what I mean?
so we recently did a show for the holidays, and I never asked if they like, the normal. Hey, did you have fun? Like that's it. That's all I wanted to know,
Yeah.
right? Or like, hey, you have a good time? Cool. That's it. That's all we want. This was. It's not supposed to be a masterpiece. We're gonna do a one-time show. Like, did you have a good time? Dope. It's not like, was the show good? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not. I
Yeah.
can judge my own shit.
Right, right.
You know.
But that's also a level of maturity from performing, though. Like you already know what, right? Like you're knowing what the
The objective of
Yeah.
the thing is.
and what you're doing.
Right, because I mean, you can always dedicate fucking 10 years of your life to put on a good show if you work on the same thing over and over again. But
Right.
it's like, this was meant to get together. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't good, okay? But I'm like, some things were a little like touch and go. Like me knocking over a light. Sorry.
The hell's going on here?
But I mean, whatever it was gonna be what it was that night.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and it's like, I didn't get a lot. I got some people coming up. This would have been good if this.
Yeah.
And it was that formula. It was like,
Yeah.
if this, then this.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, how many shows do you do a year
Yeah.
that are self-produced, written,
Yeah.
performed, and casted?
Mind yourself.
Right.
Right.
Like, how many shows by
Yeah.
this person
Yeah.
Yeah.
have you done?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Right.
And it's always
Yeah.
that same fucking formula.
Yeah, that's something that like.
And sometimes that's that same person.
Yeah, so totally.
Every time.
Yeah, whenever like we talk about like somebody else's show or production, like we have our critiques, but still at the end of the day,
But
we're,
at the end,
we're like
but hey, he's doing it, man.
like
Yeah.
we don't have a full like
Right.
special, or we don't
Right,
have like
right.
a movie, or we don't have anything streaming on anything besides
For sure.
like free platforms.
Right, and it's the idea of like, don't be a bitter person, go be a better person, right? Like,
Right.
Wow.
you
Wow.
can go and do like,
Wow.
everything's free. Go write a show, film it, and put on YouTube. and let's see how you feel after.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not a little bit rude
Yeah.
to people who
Yeah.
critique
Yeah.
your shit,
Yeah.
just a
Right.
little bit,
Yeah.
Right.
and like to have the grace that other people
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
of like, hey, cool,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
It's I mean, it's a little ranty, but it's like
Whatever. Fucking rant
what you're
away.
feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it's fine. But
It's like a call to get people to practice more empathy and understanding.
Exactly, and I don't know. We're probably not gonna leave that last part in.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just clip it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just
That was-
I can send it in DMs.
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
getting a little too specific without being specific.
Right. But yeah, that was a great episode. I mean, that is it on Unsolicited.
Leave a
Advice.
comment with your unsolicited advice.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
Or an unsolicited advice story.
Or video response.
Video response.
And then
yeah.
keep track. This year is the year that the order is in. We've been talking shit for a long time, but we put in an order for merch.
Yes.
So we have the pandesoul dad hat in the butter color
It looks like it's a pandesal color.
of your brain.
Yeah.
And then we also have a bucket hat that says bucket on it. So
Bucket hat.
It's a bucket hat. And those will
So
be out
what
soon.
is?
Yeah.
Keep an eye out. We're going to post it all over, and you have a chance to buy one, and we'll be running contests to win one.
Yeah.
Running them.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll be walking a contest too.
Yeah. 10,000 steps
There's a 5K.
for ticket entry.
But yeah, until next time, we're your hosts. I've been the Dre Magics.
I'm the fictitious professor.
And I'm EJ Villiam.
And special thanks to our guest, life empowerment coach and host of the Artistry in Life podcast. Give it up for Mark King. Where can they find you?
Be better, not bitter.
Oh,
Yeah.
palaya.
Be bitchin' and not betchin'. Where can they find you online?
The usuals: Instagram at artistryinlife.com, and then also on YouTube on Artistry in Life. Wait, did I?
Your,
did I
your Instagram is artistryinlife.com.
That's cool. I never
Oh,
knew you
like
could do that.
It's like that, you know, a little bit.
You combine all the
Copy and paste.
You guys know what I mean. Artistry in Life. You'll find me there.
Yeah.
yeah. And we'll link it
Thank
down in the description.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been the Pandesoul podcast for this week. And as always,
Don't forget your button.
peace.
O sige na, Pandis. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Pandesoul Podcast.
And check out previous episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Also, check out all our social media: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Pandesoul Podcast.
Thanks for laughing, and hope to see you in the next episode, because there's enough pandesal to go around.
And don't forget your baon!